What's up, guys? I'm finally back. I slacked last week. I was actually on vacation and I didn't have an upload last weekend. I was gonna edit a video, but I just never did. I was on vacation. I didn't really, use social media, my laptop, and all that stuff as much. Try and disconnect a little bit. But I was just going through an Instagram story, and it gave me like a little sense of motivation today to work on the car and, well, on the engine at least. From the Spirit JP Drift Series down in Richmond, Virginia. I watched their Instagram story, and they had an event last night. It was like a evening and nighttime event, and it looked so fun. And I was like, man, I gotta get back out there because that is one of the events I want to try and make it down to at some point this year down in Richmond. So we're out here. We're gonna start working on the motor. Got a little surprise that is basically, the key component to getting this thing back on the road. Big old UPS box that I'm gonna bring out here. All right, so this box came in last week, right before I left for vacation, and it's hard to leave go fast parts behind, but let's see what we got. Boom, look at that. Look at that, we got some fresh used turbos. So these are 15G turbos. They are a stock housing that are basically, I guess they make the inlet bigger, and I don't know what the whole 15G thing is. I'll look it up and I'll give you guys some more info on it. But they're 15Gs. They will give me a nice boost in power with this thing, and I'm really excited to get them on the car. Also came with some factory wastegates that were cut open, and then they had like these, you can kind of see like bent up so that there's like a lip, and then machined, and this little clamp deal on it, so you could basically change the spring inside of the wastegate. So I'm gonna crack one of these open because I don't really know how it works. I don't know if I'm gonna use these yet or not, but because I don't really know, and the previous owner didn't really know for sure what size spring was on it. So he said he thinks it was a 20-pound, but I have my wastegates on my stock turbos that are basically just these with stock springs that you can use a boost controller on that will also fit, because like I said, these are stock housing turbos just with the modified internals and inlet. And I don't know if the outlets, I think the outlets might be modified too on a 15G. But yeah, so we're gonna clean this up. There's just some packing material on them, get them all nice and clean. I'm actually going to try and polish these cold sides up just with like some like a Scotch-Brite pad, and see if I can get them cleaned up and just looking better, so that get a little more shine under the hood of the car. Start the process of cleaning these guys up. I just used some scuff pads and got them looking pretty good. Front turbo, rear turbo. I scuffed up the hot sides a little bit. I'm going to use just some engine paint and spray the hot side, at least in the front turbo. I don't know if I'm going to have enough to do the rear turbo, but I'll do as much of it as I can. Just, you really can't even see it because of the heat shield. So I'll get these sprayed, and then next move is probably going to be figuring out, maybe even just taking the old turbos off the car and getting these things figured out as to mounting them up. Spray everything down, try not to break any studs, you know the deal. All right, so here we have good old half-ass painted turbo. Looking good enough. So this guy will be ready to go in the car. I painted the heads of the water cooling bolts just so, because they were a little rusty, so I scuffed them and painted them. So everything should look clean when it goes into the car. So while that stuff's drying, I'm gonna crack open one of these wastegates, see what they're all about, and kind of make a decision from there if I'm gonna end up using them or not. This through, here we are. So there's like no markings or anything on the spring, so that kind of just makes it harder for me to figure out what kind of spring it is. I mean, it's definitely a very tight spring, that's for sure. But this is kind of just what makes me a little leery about running them in the car, because like this spring could be it could be a 20-pound spring, and we might want to only tune the car for 18 pounds. So it kind of takes away some adjustability. Or I could keep the stock wastegates and run a boost controller, which I have a manual boost controller in the car. I would like to upgrade to an electronic boost controller for accuracy and protection. So those are my two options. Let me know what you guys think. Should I run these adjustable custom-made wastegates, or should I go with stock wastegates and a better boost controller? Let me know what you guys think. You know, depending on if I go one or the other, I'll probably end up selling these maybe. Again, I don't know what size spring is in them, but it is a nice piece, a nice custom-made piece here that, you know, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. We will see if I decide to use it, but I do really like how all this stuff was made, and it definitely looks very well put together. So here we are on the back of the motor looking at the rear turbo. I'm going to pop this heat shield off and you'll get a better view of it. I think it's going to be a 14 or a 12. Ooh, that's a 12. That is a 12. So this is how we look without the heat shield on. This is the turbo that I was just working with, basically. And then we have this downpipe here. Wastegate hooks on right here. And yeah. Mine's a little crusty, not too bad. Everything's in good shape on this motor. It was a Japanese motor, so everything was pretty, you know, clean. It sat inside for so long. This water line is a little jacked up. It's actually kinked. So like this rear turbo might not have been getting much coolant at all. So I might try and figure out a way to rectify this. Well, I'm probably gonna figure out a way to rectify this and make sure, you know, we have proper water flow to the rear turbo. But something like this could contribute to the blown seals over time. This one, the rear turbo had the blown seals, the front one had all the shaft play. So this is something that can contribute to blown seals because the turbo is not cooling properly. It's the rear turbo, and you know, if everything's not working as it's designed, you know, that's when you will be running into issues. I had to break out the big boy, but now I got these 14s loosened. I'm gonna take this downpipe off. I got the one down there that holds the turbo to the manifold. Two more down this side that are just like regular nuts. So get this all cranked off and get this turbo off of the engine. So on this nice 87-degree humid day, I love sitting here with the nap gas, just heating stuff up. But this little downpipe thing here is hitting the, I guess, the head of the exhaust manifold or whatever, so I really got to try and get this off first before pulling the turbo, because everything's loose, everything's disconnected. It's just a matter of getting this part off. Let's see, this thing is crackling. It's so hot right now. So throw the 14 on. Let's see if this thing will rip. There it goes, and that stud is toast. Oh, wait, no, hold on. I snapped it. Yep. Snapped it right off, but hey, no big deal. You know, these turbos are beat. So I just gotta get this thing off. That's all I'm worried about. Time to hit this one. Towel. Whoops. I feel like it's gonna start melting through my floor too. Yep. All right. Turbo elbow is off. Lay that out there as well. And now we are left with the turbo. The old exposed turbo. It's still kind of hot, but it should, in theory here, lift right off. I actually still have that water line hooked up, but I disconnected it over there, so I should just be able to bring the whole thing with me here. There she is. That is the turbo drain. That is the turbo. This is what the outlet looks like from the exhaust manifold. So here we have the two turbos side by side, stock turbo, stock frame, 15G turbo. So if you get up closer in here, you can see that the inlets, this one has like a thicker flange here. This one does not. It's a little dented here, shout out USPS, but this was machined to a bigger opening. This one is a smaller opening, so let me see if I can get a tape measure and measure the difference. So I just measured, and the new turbo is about 2/16 of an inch larger on the inlet than the factory frame turbo. The inlet here, you can tell, was machined, or the outlet, I'm sorry, was machined to be a little smoother and a little bigger than on the stock turbo. There's like a little lip there and all that, so that's that. But otherwise, everything is the same, and yeah, we are in good shape so far. So to me, this project is something that gives me an opportunity to clean up certain parts and just make things look a lot more presentable. So for example, this rear water line for the turbo, it was all cruddy and rusty and not looking too hot. So all I did is I sprayed it down with some brake clean, got all the gunk out of the line. I kind of like flushed it out, and I just shot it in some silver, and it looks like a brand new part. And you know, just it's so much more visibly pleasing than just, you know, sticking with the rusty, disgusting line that it was prior. So the new turbo is hung. Got the rear water line, the one I just painted. Got that back installed on the motor. And I got this guy right here that I'm about to put back in. That's the other water line on the back side. I just mocked up the adjustable wastegate. I just painted the top purple real quick, and you know, threw the vacuum line back on it just for now, even though I probably will be doing away with this until, well, I'll probably be doing away with this until we figure out what spring is in here. But it's basically just putting the pieces back together now. Everything seems to be lining up properly and going back together well, so I'm pretty happy with how smooth this is going. Knock on exhaust housing. And now I am just finally finishing mounting up the little bracket for the oil feed line. We got everything tight, the 3 bolts off of the manifold, got everything never sees. Seriously guys, use this stuff if you ever plan on taking your car apart again. It will certainly help. I have a little helper that joined me in the garage, and he's been stuck there for like an hour, and I'm trying to figure out how to get him out. But anyway, never sees on all the studs. I'm gonna go out and buy some new hardware for these because they gave me so many issues. I just want to get some fresh bolts on these studs. This water line is done. I just slipped the old hose on. I'm replacing all the rubber on this engine, so this hose is gonna get replaced. Wastegate line's attached, wastegate is secured, it's all adjusted, so it is tight when it's closed, so the wastegate is all good here. And the oil feed line, the rear coolant line, I kind of got this kink out a little bit more, so we should have some flow through here now. And I also am gonna have to go out and buy order a gasket for the oil drain. I don't know where the other one went, and then this turbo had like some gunked up RTV on there, and I'd rather just purchase the couple dollar gasket that is the proper gasket for it. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'll be good on the back of the engine once I get the turbo elbow back on. But here it is. It is on. The new turbo, the 15G rear turbo, is on and in good shape. All right, so my trip to the parts store and the hardware store didn't exactly yield the results that I wanted, so I had to make do with what I could get my hands on. So I got 2 M10-1 nuts with some appropriate lock washers. That's what I'm going to use for the 2 bolts on the manifold. I got myself a new fill plug for the transfer case. Mine was all rounded off on the outside, so I'm gonna have to get that guy out and get a fresh boy in. And then I got a new transmission drain plug. I made a video a while back replacing the drain plug on the trans, and it didn't have a magnet on it, and people were losing their minds because that means there could be metal floating around in the fluid, etc., etc., etc. And I saw that they had this 18-1.50 plug, so with a magnet on it, so grab that too. So gonna get this J pipe, pre-cat pipe, whatever you want to call it, on the end of the turbo, and then wrap it up for today. And there we are. Everything is on and tight. Got the heat shields back on. We are in good shape. It's official. The rear 15G with the adjustable factory wastegate is fully installed and done. Everything's hooked back up, everything is tight, and we're in good shape. I believe the front turbo will be a much easier process because everything seems to be way simpler to get to. Like the exhaust side is on the front, not inside, and all that stuff. So that I am probably gonna do on another day, just because I've been working on this. The rear turbo took me a little more time than I had anticipated, but it's all good. It's Sunday. It's my first day back to work tomorrow after a long vacation last week. And I'm just looking forward to kicking it and relaxing for the rest of the day and start figuring out the rest of the parts that I'm going to need to order in order to get this thing back on the road. Like I said, I have a deadline of first week of September. Freedom Moves, I think it's September 6th and 7th. It's a 2-day Club Loose event. That is the next time that I want to have this car back at the track at the latest. If I can swing something in August, but that realistically, we're looking at September. And I can't wait to drive this thing again. It's going to be a totally different animal. And hopefully she holds together. I got plenty of spare axles to bring to the track with me. But until then, guys, thank you for watching the channel and the video. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time with the next update on the now bigger turbo 3000 GT drift car.